Blue Demons, Courtney here from the Office of Student Involvement. Thanks so much for joining us for our Tuesday afternoon edition of Get to Know DePaul. Today I'm joined by Dr. Kim Everett talking about the Office of Multicultural Student Success. So Kim, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I always love talking to you. It's just such a treat, and you are such a light and a joy, and I could think of no better way to spend my Tuesday afternoon here.
That makes me feel good, and the feeling is definitely mutual.
Well, for those of you who may be new to the stream, Get to Know DePaul is a series that we designed for you to get to know different programs, services, and offices throughout DePaul. So we, throughout Welcome Week, we're going to be doing these at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. each day, and are joined by different offices around the Division of Student Affairs. So Kim, as we get started here, could you just tell us a little bit about you? So who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been to DePaul, or been at DePaul, and why you came in the first place?
Absolutely. I am Kim Everett. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and many folks around campus usually call me Dr. Kim. I am a native Chicagoan, born and raised on the South Side, and I am back on the South Side now after some time in some other parts of this great country of ours. I have been at DePaul for 5 years. It'll be 6 years come April, and I came to DePaul to serve as the director in the Office of Multicultural Student Success because I appreciated DePaul's commitment to service to those at the margins and the idea that each individual person has a dignity that needs to be honored. And so that starts within and with the students that we have here. And so I was really grateful to be at an institution that puts that at the front of all the things that matter. And once I got here and started getting to know DePaul students, it absolutely felt like the right place to be because the students here at DePaul are committed to changing the world, literally changing the world from whichever standpoint they're coming from. If they are accountants, if they are nurses, if they are teachers, they're doing what they do because they want to make this world a better place. And I want to be a part of that process with them.
Yeah, I love that. I used to have a faculty member in grad school who would tell me that we're in the business of changing lives. Yep. And I completely agree with you, Kim. DePaul is 100% that place. Like our students have the passion and we get to marry that with skills and develop them as leaders and to give them the knowledge base to really be successful in that part of their life. And I know OMS does that wonderfully. And so for those of you who may be listening, if you're not familiar with OMS, or OMSS, you'll hear it as by three names. You'll hear it as the Office of Multicultural Student Success. You'll hear it as OMSS, and you'll hear it as OMS. But Kim, can you tell us a little bit about just what your office does?
Yes. The mission in the Office of Multicultural Student Success, or OMS, is to facilitate a sense of belonging and persistence and retention toward graduation for a group of historically marginalized students, which I'll name specifically in a minute. But when we say a sense of belonging and persistence and retention at graduation, we mean that we want you to come to DePaul and achieve your goal, which was to achieve a degree. And on the way, we want you to have a positive experience. We want you to find a place that feels right to you. We want you to find a place where your thoughts and ideas are challenged, where you can learn some new things, where you can deepen your passions, where you can take a stand sometimes. All of those things, all while honoring the fact that you came here to earn a degree. So we're trying to provide programs and activities that can help you be academically successful, as well as deepen your understanding of issues of social justice in the DePaul community and beyond. And while our services and programs are beneficial to the entire DePaul community, we pay specific attention and provide specific support and resources for first-generation college students, meaning neither of your parents have earned a bachelor's degree in the United States, for students from low-income backgrounds, as well as students of color. We also provide support services for undocumented students and students with marginalized genders and sexualities. So there's a wide array of services and target audiences that we work with. And I have a super talented team of people who do that with me through a number of different programs and services that I would be happy to list off for you, or is that a question that comes up later, Courtney?
Well, I actually think that's a great transition, Kim, because the next thing I was going to ask you about actually is what that looked like in the fall, because obviously we know, when the doors are open, we have our beautiful cultural resource centers, and OMS is located on the first floor of the DePaul Student Center. So in our virtual environment, obviously a lot more of our interactions look like this. So could you just spend a little bit of time maybe highlighting some of those experiences and what they look like in this virtual world?
Absolutely. Yeah. As Courtney said, we have sort of two branches to our team, and they are in two physical locations, but now we get to all meet on our computers. But the spirit of what we do is still the same. So we have programs for incoming first-year students as well as transfer students in our college transitions program. The biggest one there is the STARS Peer Mentoring Program. So throughout the course of the late summer and fall quarter, our team of, I think we got about 30 mentors, spent time answering questions and helping incoming students connect with the people and resources to help them find that sense of belonging and make them want to be able to be successful and give them the tools that they needed to be successful. So that happened a lot in Zoom meetings or telephone calls or text messages and such, to just have someone who's been where you are recently to be able to help you walk through those processes. In addition to our STARS programs, we have a program called Generation Success, which is for first generation college students. And so I got to spend some time with that group, well, half of the group, every Friday morning, because they were in a Discover Chicago class together. While the Discover Chicago class is done, we will still continue to engage those folks and others who identify as first generation students throughout the fall quarter. OMS has a number of scholarships that we administer that students often usually get through their admissions process, but there are a few that come along throughout the course of the DePaul experience. But we don't just give students money, we give students money and support. So there's a leadership curriculum that comes along with that scholarship. Also on the identity conscious success side, we also have our PATHS program, which is all about career development and career discernment. So you may have an opportunity to spend time at a virtual conference, so to speak, where you get to hear from different speakers and facilitators about the ways that your identity might play a part in the job search process and helping you think through what it is that you want to do next. And then we have the other part of our team, which primarily is our cultural and resource centers. And while we don't necessarily have the physical space right now, our centers are still alive and active. We have the Asian Pacific Islander and Desi American Cultural Center, the Black Cultural Center, the Latinx Cultural Center, and the LGBTQIA+ Cultural Center. And in these different virtual spaces, we try to help folks understand some things that are important to these various communities and the way that these issues intersect and overlap. And mostly we do our best to try and provide support to people who identify in those ways and give you opportunities to connect with others who have similar experiences so that you can deepen your understanding in your own identity and be able to connect with others who have various identities. And the last sort of branch of the Office of Multicultural Student Success is our support to undocumented students. And so we have a number of closed spaces for students who identify as undocumented or documented to be able to be in community and provide support to one another. And we also do quite a bit of advocacy and resource gathering for the rest of the campus community to be able to better understand the experiences of all of these different student groups. So we've moved all of these things into these spaces. And so you can see a one-on-one conversation like this one, or you can have an intergenerational room where you're hearing from DePaul faculty and staff and students about the various experiences that they have had. We try and help students sit and figure out how to college, kind of thinking about the ways that the tools that you need in order to be successful. The college transition or the college experience has its challenge for everyone. it has particular challenges for those who have been historically under resources. And then we layer on top of that the world that we live in right now. And that is what our team has been busy trying to find different ways to help you get where you want to be.
Yeah, well, and I think that's so powerful. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Kim, particularly when it comes to first generation students. I think about a third of our students at DePaul, is that correct? A third of our students at DePaul are first gen?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so powerful. And actually, I mean, I oversee the esports program, and even with my esports students, more and more recently, we've been talking about how to college, in how that affects them, as a gamer, or with these different assumed parts of their identities in terms of, or like different things that they affiliate with versus like their actual identities, right? Like their race, class, religion, how those things show up. But so I think that, I mean, it's really, really powerful work, and it's a great resource for our students to know that they have that place so that they can learn how to college, as you put it. I think that that's really beautifully said.
Yeah. And I appreciate you pointing out the way that their identity as a gamer and perhaps their other social identities come together. And so that is really important to us, because we know that you bring all of the parts of you to everything that you do. So myself was a first generation college student, a Black woman from the South Side of Chicago, low income, and recognizing what that means to me and the way I move through the world, and really helping folks have an opportunity to think through that and provide spaces for that. So I'm glad that the gamers that you work with in the esports community are considering the ways that all of these different things impact the way that they show up in something that some would argue might be identity neutral in the game world, but we know that there's no real such thing as identity neutral.
Yeah. Well, and it's been amazing. I don't want to get too far off of the tangent because I don't want to steal your time here, but it really has been amazing this year with the, I guess I would say, emphasis that we've had, or like the refocusing of social issues that we've had in the past year. And it just amazes me. Like I personally, and I identify as a white woman, I've been finding all of these new and different outlets where we're talking about things like Black Lives Matter and the implications of that movement, and the election and how that affected things, and how are people being gaslighted in our society right now, and what stories are we amplifying and which ones are we choosing not to. And one of the best conversations I actually had all year actually came after AOC decided to live stream Among Us. I'm sorry, my roommate just saw that Penny's here. Penny's here, everybody. She wanted to say hi. The mailman just stopped by. But no, AOC live stream on Twitch, and she talked about all of these different societal issues. And that, for me, it opened a whole new realm of conversation with people, because now it's this like mainstream conversation that someone who has all of this political, social capital is now talking about like real issues. And like it changed. And like OMS does that on our own campus, right? Like you all bring those issues to the forefront. And I think as again, as a person who identifies as a white woman, it's even more important for people who look like me to lean in and learn when OMS has opportunities like this. So I don't want to get too far off track, because I could talk about that for a whole hour, and I want to be cognizant of our viewers' times. But Kim, you talked a lot about like the cohorts and the curriculum and all of these different things. I'm curious if there were any major themes or anything you saw emerge from your students through this fall quarter.
I would say that once we sort of, the shock of the fact that we are still working and learning remotely sort of settled in on us, and we were kind of like, all right, well, now what? How do we find our people? How do we find ways to connect? How do I know what's happening around campus and where those folks who are like-minded are? And so, as you and I were talking a little bit before we got started, there's definitely been a uptick in the number of students who have expressed interest in some of the experiences that OMS has offered. And while there was some there are clear constraints about working from home and everything being virtual that also provided an opportunity for people from all over to be able to join in and engage. And there's definitely been a seeking of where can I go to connect and find people, and not and students trying to create ways to connect and find people. So that's why I'm excited about these kinds of opportunities where we can share that, because I know that there's someone out there looking for a place or a forum to be able to see where other people are talking about prison abolition, or where someone else may be talking about transgender rights in the United States and all those sorts of things. And so there's definitely been a seeking where we have been feeling isolated in many ways, but that isolation has motivated us to be more proactive in the connections we're trying to make. We can't hear you, Courtney.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted because Penny was saying hi again to the mailman. I think that connection that you're talking about is really important. And, I think for our students that are listening, first, I would just remind you, it's not too late. Like, it's not too late to find your place and to find a place. And, OHMS is doing a spectacular job to create those communities, and where you can go and you can talk to people and you can find that place where you feel like you belong and you feel connected, and that you can, learn how to college and learn how to do all of these different things as well. Because the thing that I will say, until we meet in person again, the pandemic's not going to last forever. So use this as your time to really create or to start building those relationships. So when you are in person, you've got your home. Now you just have a physical space that you can just so happen to meet together. That is, a beautiful, wonderful space, right?
Yes.
But it really is still that opportunity for you.
And I want to take that a step further, Courtney. I think that it's not too late to find your place, and you will always be thinking of what that place is. And that place may change. So one of the things that we encourage is constant reflection, because we are people who are growing and developing and evolving constantly. So the place where I found refuge and comfort when I was 17 and starting college was not necessarily the same place where I found comfort and refuge when I was a 21-year-old mother finishing college. And so we try to walk you through thinking about how your values and priorities have changed, and continually finding that new place and the next place. So I think about the folks that you get to work with, Courtney, that we work with together. A lot of time, students of color in particular will come into one of the culturally based student orgs, like through BSU, or come in through one of those organizations, and sail and take off in leadership roles. And then they find that they want to have a different sphere of influence, and then will run for SGA president. So that place that you found at home early on may be your launch pad where you will find a different home later on. So that's why we try to constantly have those conversations about finding a sense of belonging is not a one-time thing. It is an ongoing process, and we continue to walk with you through it all.
Yeah. So Kim, I'm curious, for our listeners today, are there any things that they can, look forward to, or that are on the docket for quarter coming from OHMS? Or are there ways or places they should look to find out what's going on? I know I it's hard to ask like what's going on, because you're like, oh my gosh, let me tell you the 300 things we're about to do. So sometimes it's easier to say, where are they, or where can they find out more?
The best place to plug into what is happening in OHMS, what's coming up in OHMS, and what we're talking about in OHMS is through our social media. I would say specifically Instagram is always the easiest to get a quick visual of what's happening. So if you look at Instagram today, you will see that today we're having a program with the Latinx Cultural Center to say, meet Mariella. You will also see the full calendar of things that are happening in the winter quarter. If you scroll a little bit on every Thursday, you'll see that we are highlighting a social justice topic of one thing or another, and you can join in the conversation there. So OMSS DePaul is the place to go to figure out what's happening in OHMS, and to jump into a conversation there too.
That's great. And the other thing I would plug to people, OMS does a really great job too. If you get a copy, if you save a copy of the PDF calendar, it actually has all of the links on it. So you can save it to your desktop and like you can click for the whole quarter, right? Like, and there's always new things being added. So you might have to go and change it or like take a look at and definitely follow on social media too. But it's a really helpful tool where you can go in and see some of those things and have clickable links that way too.
Another place is in D-Hub or the Den, and check in and see what is happening there. Let us know that you are coming so that we can know that you'll be there so that we can stay in touch with you afterwards. If you follow OMSS on D-Hub, you will also get a newsletter from us letting us know what things are happening, things we're thinking about, if there are dates or other things to remind you, just all kinds of different information there as well. So make sure that you get yourself set up so that you can get that newsletter as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, for our listeners, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments and we can ask them live during today's stream. But Kim, as we head towards the tail end of the interview here, I'm curious if you have any pieces of advice for our students as they head into their second quarter here.
I would really say if you didn't over the break, take some time, either alone or with a friend or with a staff member, meet Courtney or somebody from our teams, to really reflect on the lessons you learned in the fall quarter. Really think about what things went really well and figure out how you can do more of that. And then think about what things were challenging. And of those things that were challenging, what do you have control over? Because there is so much happening right now that we don't have control over that we cannot worry ourselves a whole lot about that. But think about what things you have control over and set an intention for yourself to take those lessons forward with you and to build on the momentum that you started in the fall quarter. Again, good, whether you perceive it to be good or bad, there is still a lesson in it. And I want you to really take time and reflect and then put that lesson to work.
Well, great. Kim, thank you so much for that. We had a couple other shout outs. Thank you from some of our viewers watching as well, from Evelyn here and from Nicole. So, Kim, as always, it is an absolute treat to talk to you. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat today. And for our viewers, as you know, this event is part of our Winter Welcome Week. So Winter Welcome Week is going on all week. You can see the full listing of events at welcomeweek.depaul.edu. But just so you have a couple of them on your radar, today we have got our Take Home Tuesday. So we're giving away DePaul buffs. So you can go on the DePaul Instagram to get that link, or the DePaul Student Involvement Instagram, excuse me, which is just DPU involvement. Then tonight at 7 o'clock, we've got Mystery Bingo Night beginning at 7 p.m. So the mysterious part about this, I just learned this actually yesterday, is the prizes. So they've got some different surprise prizes coming out throughout bingo. Then on Wednesday, we've got our Winter Wonderland Hunt also taking place on the DPU Involvement Instagram. And then tomorrow night, we'll have an office-themed trivia night. So you can catch that at 6 p.m. with the DePaul Activities Board. Then on Thursday, we're giving away Blue Thursday Spirit shirts, followed by one of our marquee events for the week, the Winter Involvement Fair. We're going to have 104 student organizations joining in on DHub. So you can go to dhub.depaul.edu to log in and to get to know some of our different groups so you can find your community and find your place here. Then Thursday night, we've got Speed Friending at 8 p.m. As part of our DePaul After Dark series. On Friday, it's the second day of our involvement fair, so you can join in again from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Same place, it's still on DHub, just dhub.depaul.edu. Then daily, we also have Tanisha Arnold and Sarah Rudy doing Wake Up with OSI at 10 a.m. on Facebook, and then at around 10:15, 10:30 over on Instagram. So they go over the full listing of events for the day. And then obviously, we've got our Get to Know DePaul series. So this is part of, we're doing these at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And if you haven't yet, I'd encourage you to scan the QR code in the corner there, because we're picking one person from each stream to receive a DePaul towel and tumbler. So we're giving one away for each stream. So we encourage you to check out as many of them as you can for your chance to win. But until next time, we hope you stay safe, Blue Demons, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.